Hey, it's Dave. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about 10 CDs that I think you should check out that would enrich your collection. Okay, so everyone makes these big CD lists, and it's tough because it's like when I think about what CDs or what music is important to me, or MP3s, whatever the hell we're listening to these days. I have all my music cataloged in hard drives, so everything's in MP3 format. But the thing is, it's hard for me to sit there and say, well, this is, like to pick a Desert Island disc, the old Tower Records thing they used to have in their book with Desert Island discs. So the thing is, it's hard to pick out stuff that I think would be important. Like I could make a list, which I probably will at some point, of my favorite guitar players and what records. But in general, I'm not a big fan of guitar music as far as like I was discussing it today. I don't really care for instrumental guitar music. I find it to be boring. I'm not that interested in the guitar to hear it as the melodic device. Now, if it's part of a song, like the way Neil Schon uses it in Journey, where he plays melodies and small, like little things inside of the songs, then I'm all for it, because that sounds fantastic. But as far as like trying to make the whole theme to a song, so guys like Satriani and Steve Vai and all that, I just don't. I don't like it. I don't really. It's not my. It doesn't make me want to listen to it. It's just not exciting to me. And back when I was, God, how old was I in '81? 13 or 14 when I heard that first Alcatraz record, and Van Halen was already out, and you had guys like Glenn Tipton and Judas Priest that were pretty ripping. Yngwie came out, and it was like, show's over. You know what I mean? It's like the guy's shredding balls. He's just playing his ass off. And if you want to hear a great Yngwie record, I would recommend that first Alcatraz album, No Parole for Rock and Roll. I think it's fantastic. I think every song's great, and the playing is great. But after that, it's like, can you listen to a guy do it for 5 minutes without somebody singing? I thought Evil Eye was interesting because Evil Eye was an instrumental, had an audience thing going on. It was something cool, but I just think they're too far and few between to have a good instrumental song for me to care. Now, jazz is a different story because I think there are guys that really can, they're not really the centered instrument, even though they are, but not always. So anyways, let's get to my list, shall we? This is going to be a list of 10 albums that I think you just haven't heard of. Or you have heard of them and you either haven't given it a shot or you have and it just deserves to be mentioned. So, onward and upward. So first up is Donald Fagen's Nightfly. I believe this album was 1982. It's if you're a Steely Dan fan, it's pure Steely Dan joy. It is Larry Carlton on guitar, Jeff Porcaro on drums, James Gadson on drums. It's just great. I always loved that record. I just think it has like such a sound to it, but one of my all-time favorites and a must check out if you don't have it. The next record also from the 80s would be Peter Gabriel's So. I don't have to say much about this album. Every song is fantastic. It's just one of those things that I think belongs in every collection. Sonically, there's some great recording. Daniel Lanois does an unbelievable job. The highlight for me on that record is Mercy Street. But other than that, fantastic. The next CD on my list is a band out of Glasgow, Scotland called the Blue Nile. The album is Hats. It's one of those ethereal, I would say it's similar in vibe to Roxy Music Avalon, but a much better album. Even though I think Roxy Music Avalon is probably a 4 3/4 star out of 5. This is a 5 out of 5. Every song is great. I saw the Blue Nile live at the Paradise in Boston in on this tour, on the Blue Nile, on the Hats tour. That's the album Hats from 1990, a must-get album. Again, check it out. It's called Hats. Moving on, we get to like 92 with a band called 24/7 Spies. When you take heavy metal, which was my first love of music, and you mix it with soul, which is one of my all-time favorite styles of music, you get heavy metal soul. You get what I think is probably the greatest rock album of the 90s. It's just fantastic. I mean, the album is great. Every song is great. There's reggae on there. There's songs. God, every song is good. I can hear and they're playing, like when I hear the melodies, I can hear like the harmony that they would use in like The Fifth Dimension, but with a heavy background. I mean, it's great. And then the last song kind of reminds me a little bit of Orpheus. I just think 24/7 Spies are one of the most hidden gems of a band. And Jimmy and Rick are two of the best guys I know. I saw them live in Los Angeles. God, I don't know what year that was when they played with Year of the Dragon. But they were fantastic, and always great to see them. Great guys. Great guys. The next album to check out, which I think is a must-check-out album, is Wayne Krantz's first solo record called Signals. And I think that's also early 90s. I saw Wayne open for Allan Holdsworth at Night Stage in Cambridge in, I think it was 91 or 9. It was right around that time. And I was blown away. In fact, I enjoyed Wayne Krantz's performance better. Mainly because Allan did a lot of the stuff on the syntax, and just, I don't care for it. But a Wayne Krantz Signals is a must-have album. And then another album that I want to suggest for you to check out, if you like heavy metal, was a band called Corrosion of Conformity, and the album was called Blind. Now, the big album was Deliverance, was the album afterwards when they got rid of the singer that was singing and the guitar player started singing. I like the album Blind better. It's rawer. It's very Sabbathy, but it's like it's angry. It's everything I love. It's a great album. The drumming's great on it. The production's great. It's nasty. It's an album to check out for sure. The next two albums I want to suggest come from the style that came out of London in the mid-90s called acid jazz. I mean, all acid jazz is 70s funk, with some real nice production. The first one is Brother Sister by the band The Brand New Heavies, and Dia Davenport on vocals. I love it. The songs are great. Every song is a classic. I think it's a great listen. And I just think, as far as drummers go, it's a great album to play to. It's just a solid groove album. The next one in that category would also be a band called Raw Stylus. Now, this was a band out of London that Gary Katz from Steely Dan, the producer of Steely Dan, this is the only band outside of Steely Dan that he produced. And some members of Steely Dan also played on it. Bernard Purdy's on drums. And if you're a Purdy fan, you're going to love this album by Raw Stylus because it is pure funk. It is badass. You'll love it. I mean, so Raw Stylus and the Brand New Heavies as far as the funk goes for albums that you may not be aware of that came out in the mid-90s. Another style of music that I really like is electronica. And I think the best example of electronica is a band called Fela Brasilia. And they have an album called Maim That Tune from 1995. And it is a great, great album. Every song, it has a vibe. It's very much, how can I describe it? It's chill. They are the kings of chill. It is great. I mean, it's just a great record to put on if you're having like a cocktail party in the background or whatever you're doing. If you want to go to sleep and you want to put some chill music on, it's great. So check out Fela Brasilia, Maim That Tune. And then lastly, it's a guitar record. And, I always loved Allan Holdsworth's playing. but I never cared for his records. Like, I mean, I loved Metal Fatigue, the song, and I liked Devil Take the Hindmost from that album. And then it was like certain songs from certain records that I thought were cool, but it's hard for me to listen to a whole album of his until I heard None Too Soon. And it's his most jazz album. It's there's an acoustic piano. It's less fusion and more bebop. And there's a lot of great Joe Henderson songs on there. It's just, I mean, he does Countdown from John Coltrane. It is, if you have any questions on the validity of Allan Holdsworth as a jazz guitarist, I recommend None Too Soon. It will convince you because the guy is flawless. It's great. It's a great album. Anyway, so here's 10 albums. I'm not saying these are the 10 greatest albums of all time. I'm not saying they're anything other than records that you should check out and give a listen to. Go on YouTube, play a couple of songs from them, and figure out if you like it. And if you like it, buy it, because it's great stuff. And I hope you have a great day. I gotta go teach. I'm out of here. Very good.